Welcome to Candid Conversations with Doc V, a collaboration with the unprecedented enterprise Win-Win Women, a global movement to reach, teach, and talk with women and girls around the world in 195 nations. As a woman heals, the earth heals. Our mission is to care, connect, and collaborate with 3.9 billion women worldwide, so all can enjoy a level of excellence in every area of their lives and be more joyful, fulfilled, and financially secure. We care by loving and inspiring all women. We connect as we teach and talk together. We collaborate to grow successful businesses. To that end, Candid Conversations is where real talk about real experiences and circumstances is the norm and not the exception, to help you heal, rebuild, and transform your life from the inside out and put you back in business and on the road to defining your path. Hi, I'm Doc V, if you haven't figured it out, the Pivot Maestro and your corner woman, here to provide truth and transparency in conversation and to help you navigate the waters and think without a box. What is my why? You are my why and motivation to create a safe haven, to validate you and your experiences, and to provide hope and freedom in your thinking and being so that you may live the life and lifestyle you were meant to lead. All are welcome to the conversation. We love when our men who love us join us. With our topics running the gamut, we focus on issues women face every single day in life, the workplace, career transition, and business. On Candid Conversations, it is our intention to always provide revelation, reconciliation, and renaissance, having one mission in mind: to help you define your path in one message. You are mission essential, yes, even as a woman, because you are grace under pressure, and the world needs your voice. Last week, we moved into a new format, bringing purposed entrepreneurs and thought leaders into the conversation. Wasn't that fun? We had a great time with Michelle Mazer with Virtual Tide. Wasn't she awesome? We discussed the basic concept of managing our reality and began to move into thoughts about conscious intuition. Today's guest is Miss Katie Warner. Katie Warner is a life coach and the founder of Salt Water and Soul Fire. I absolutely love that name. Katie is known for sharing the naked truth about her own struggles, triumphs, and spiritual journey, as well as her ability to make spirituality and the law of attraction a little less woo-woo, as Katie likes to say, and a little more real world. Katie founded Salt Water and Soul Fire in 2015 from her living room sofa in beautiful South County, Rhode Island, as a way to share her exhilaration about figuring out how to blend her version of inner peace and spirituality with the real life chaos of raising 4 kids on her own. Kudos, Katie, including money struggles, a soul-sucking 9-to-5, oh yes, I can relate to that, sis, IEP meetings, her own undiagnosed ADHD, and constantly forgetting that she matters too. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you do. After studying at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and becoming certified as an INHC, Katie quickly found a passion for guiding other women on their journey to combine the support and peace offered by a spiritual practice with their real-life responsibilities. Over the past 5 years, Katie has provided guidance and encouragement to hundreds of women. She has hosted several peace-inducing retreats in which we are partnered, so watch what's coming up with Exhale. So excited about that, Katie. She's hosted several peace-inducing retreats and created an incredible paid membership called The Beach Club. So if you don't know, find out about it. Designed for women over 40 seeking to create their own version of spirituality while living in the real world. Katie's favorite part of coaching women is the epiphanies. I can relate to that. She believes that a woman's dreams and desires are meant for her specifically to realize and not to be controlled by any entity, and that every woman already has within her everything she needs to bring those dreams and desires to life without sacrificing. To watch a woman come to the same realization after 4 decades of believing she didn't have what it takes is truly miraculous. When Katie isn't hosting retreats or guiding women back to self love, you can find her at the beach with a good book and a glass of rose. Planning her next retreat, October 17th through the 21st, Isla Mujeres, come join us, or having soul inspiring conversations with her kids about life. As a life coach, she works with women who are struggling to find happiness in their lives, despite having achieved most, if not all, of the goals they set for themselves. Her clients still find themselves dissatisfied with work, relationships, parenting, even themselves. Katie guides and supports them through mindset and energy shifts, awareness of the patterns that have been holding them back, and the inner work of changing their lives. Her clients find clarity around what they really desire and the confidence to go for it, to go after it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, my sister from another mister, and strategic partner, Katie. Welcome to Candid Conversations.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow,
Welcome.
I sound really impressive when you say it like that.
Girl, you are impressive. You are more than impressive.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. Thank you for saying yes. And yeah, I just love you to death, girl. So I know we're going to have flow here. So last week, Katie, we talked about how simply managing our reality leads to life leading us without purposeful living. So I want to introduce a thought this week, or a hypothesis, if you will.
Mm,
Our intuition is constantly speaking to us subconsciously, right?
indeed.
But the noise of life dims its voice from the conscious as we manage our reality daily,
Hmm.
because we're managing our reality daily. So, what if we could tap into that soul connection, that superpower that comes in the form of what I call conscious intuition?
Hmm.
Would life be like? What are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. It would be such, I think if we could do it with like 100% fidelity, in
Mm-hmm.
that sort of ideal place,
Mm-hmm.
it would just be this one big constant flow of one thing that we appreciate and want and desire flowing to us after another after another. And I think, wow, what a beautiful place that would be to live in, like this sort of utopia. Um, while I don't think we can ever be in, a complete state of that sort of
Mm-hmm.
intuitive flow all the time, I don't think as human beings, we're not designed that way.
Right.
But I
Mm-hmm.
think that it is possible for us to live most of our days, most of our hours, most of our minutes that way. I do think it's possible.
Yeah, well, we're tapping into it, because I mean, if we were constantly in it, you're right. It wouldn't be intuition, right?
Right?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
This
but
is
if
true.
we could, think about, I love how you describe, like, if we could just operate in that flow.
Hmm.
And I love that thought and concept because, looking back as a child, I recall an early experience with conscious intuition. Of course, I didn't know that's what, I hadn't put this term to it,
Hmm.
but I was playing in my room. I was, jumping up and down on my bed, pretending it was a trampoline. You know how we do when we're kids, right?
Is.
So, and, my closet doors were open. That's where I kept all of my toys inside there. And I was just having a good old time. And all of a sudden, I hear this rattling, and it's faint and it starts to get louder and louder. So of course, a child, my curiosity was piqued. I jumped down to inspect, to go over and see what this rattling was, right?
Mm.
And as I reached for the rattle, a voice stopped me. And it caused me to go ask my parents if I could play with that new rattle toy. And of course, they knew exactly what it was living in, the country in South Texas. And,
Yeah.
my dad goes, grabs a shovel, cuts off his head, while my mother
Yeah.
keeps me as far away from my room as possible. So, when I think about that, that to me, that's the closest, one of the closest examples I can think of in my childhood when when conscious intuition, like, something stopped me.
Yeah.
And I became conscious of, hey, I need to go ask my parents, even though I never asked my parents to play with toys.
Right.
Like as children, do you think we operate in that flow a little better?
Oh, definitely. I definitely think it's conditioned out of us.
Mm,
The sort of propensity to listen to that intuitive, conscious intuition, the propensity to listen to that is definitely conditioned out of us by well-meaning parents and teachers and authority figures in our lives. I think, it's not an intentional, like, how can I make this person not listen to their intuition anymore? Definitely not. But yeah, I think the younger we are, the more tapped into that we are. And I can think of many examples in my own childhood where
mm-hmm,
I was very much tapped into that flow. And of course, at the time, I didn't realize what was going on, but
mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely. Times where it protected me, times where I knew things that were important for me to know, but I don't know how I knew them, but I did, and it worked out in my favor, things like that. So, yeah, I think as kids I think it's so available to us as children.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's almost innate, because we're
Yeah.
always in play, and we've not learned exactly as you said. We've not learned these behaviors and these fears that
Mhm.
shut down that voice,
Yeah.
and that puts it over here in a box. you
Yeah,
know.
indeed. Yeah. It's this mixture of sort of like, we're born only having that intuition. We
Hmm.
don't have any
Hmm.
other knowledge of anything when we're a brand new baby, two,
Right.
3, 5 days old. And so over time, from the people that are in our sphere, we are taught, for better or worse,
Hmm.
how to behave in order to be accepted and embraced within our families or our communities or whatever that looks like for each individual. But many, many, many times, those teachings, what we're taught in order to belong, go against or don't run congruently with what we know innately. And so our need to belong is greater than our need to listen to that inner voice. And so we we absolutely move away from it. And then, you're 40 years old and you're going, wait a minute, there's got to be somebody else I can listen to besides these other people around me who don't know what they're talking about.
So true, so true. You had so many poignant points there. But it adulting confines us. Bottom line, as we're growing, it just confines us, and it produces these expectations, and then we have difficulty in escaping those expectations. So,
Mhm.
how did you escape the box?
I, oh boy. I
That's a
think
big one, huh?
that's that's a loaded question. We could be here for days. But I think the short version of it is that for most of my teenage years and then very early 20s, I was like, there's got to be something wrong with me because I'm trying to do all these things I'm supposed to do in order to fit in order to belong, in order to be successful. None of it's working. Maybe I'm defective. And that kind of train of thought ended up taking me down a path of not intentional self-destruction, but just it destroyed my soul. It was soul destruction is what it was, because it
Mm,
was a marriage that wasn't right for me. It was a second relationship after my marriage ended that was even worse for me. 4 children later, on my own, struggling. I didn't have an education. I didn't have a great job. Everything was falling apart around me. And at some point, I just spent way too many days and nights crying and riddled with anxiety and not knowing what to do and not knowing what I was supposed to be doing in this world, what was my purpose. It just was a horribly lonely and self-defeating feeling. And finally I said, maybe this is maybe I'm going about this all wrong. Like, maybe what I'm trying is not the things I need to be trying. And I don't know precisely where that realization came from.
Mm.
Certainly it was my
Mm.
inner knowing that was, had probably been fighting for decades to come to the surface for me to
Right, right.
finally listen. But I think I kind of had to hit that proverbial rock bottom
Mm-hmm.
before I was like, Jesus, take the wheel, because I don't have this. I don't have it. Like as a single mom, I wanted to be like, I got this, I got this, I got this. And at some point, I had to go, yeah, I don't got this. I don't have it.
Yeah.
My kids are miserable. Everything's falling apart around me. Nothing is working right. My family is thinks I'm going off the deep end. Like it was bad. It was looking back, it was bad. And I thank God that my family stood by me because
Mm-hmm.
I probably appeared to be quite unhinged, to to the people around me. Like, what is going on with her? What are these choices that she's making? And I think yeah, I hit that rock bottom, and it finally was like, nothing I've done is working. I've got to completely pivot 180
Mm-hmm.
degrees
Mm-hmm.
because if there's nothing in the other direction, then I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
certainly there was. So
Look,
we're good.
Katie, I just love you. Folks, did I not promise you real talk? That was real talk. You again, you hit on some key words there. And what I think in my hypothesis,
Mm,
to me, that was your intuition coming conscious.
yeah,
Coming into the conscious.
yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and helping you to make that pivot.
Hmm.
And so many times we get stuck. We can't find that voice because of just the noise in life,
Yeah.
and trying to live up to those expectations and all of that. And so I really believe the only way out of that box is you have to have a life event,
Hmm.
some kind of circumstance, like you just said,
Hmm.
that, this wall that you hit where it's like, oh, that hurt, that stunned you or stunned you into a conscious state
Yeah.
where you can actually start hearing that voice, that inner voice, the conscious and the intuition talking to you.
Hmm.
So, when I think about conscious intuition, as being like a subconscious process, which brings, okay, I'm gonna get academic on you here.
Yep.
The subconscious process, which brings information, the solutions and understanding and on how to proceed into the conscious, into the unconditioned mind, because we've talked about conditioning here and how
Hmm.
it paralyzes us in that state. What do you think?
I completely agree with you. I'm right there with you. I love your hypothesis and I love the way you describe it because I think, and this is kind of my whole soapbox, but it's bringing that sort of information that's a little bit out there
Mm-hmm.
and bringing it accessible to
Mm-hmm.
everybody.
Yeah.
And and I love the way that you describe it because that's exactly what it does.
Aha.
Bring
All right.
it,
So I'm
bring
onto
it,
something, huh? Not totally off my rocker.
yeah. Oh, good Lord, no, your rocker's doing just fine.
So the power behind, I want to talk about another concept in my book, Love the Skin You're In, How to Conquer Life Through Divergent Thinking. I think you've seen this.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
yeah, so I talk about it. The sub thought is how to conquer life through divergent thinking, and so in my philosophy, in the hypothesis rather, the power behind conscious intuition is divergent thinking, which is I describe as the learning of how to integrate the knowledge of conscious intuition without obvious deliberation, but rather through the faculty of divergent thinking, in which hunches are generated by the unconscious mind. So it's like the unconscious mind is rapidly sifting through past experiences and cumulative knowledge for problem solutions. So, if we're going to break out of this conditioned mindset, by listening to our conscious intuition and employ that divergent thinking, I really feel like those combinations are the lifeblood in living and creating a life design for yourself, and not just simply marching to this beat of managing your reality every day or business as usual. What do you
Mhm.
think? Because you help women kind of, discover, put their, deal with their pain points, their traumas, and do this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and so I think the language that I use to describe exactly what you're describing is a
Mm-hmm.
little different. And interestingly, I think it's interesting anyway. I use I use kind of two separate
Ah.
processes. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that's the right word, but
Processes, yes, girl.
processes,
You got it.
however, um, I use two I use meditation,
Mm-hmm.
which is quieting the mind, and
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of different types of meditation, but the primary one that I use is actually quieting my mind, which is challenging because talk about divergent thinking. I am neurodivergent, quote unquote ADHD. My brain, when I tell you that the thoughts never end, they never end. So quieting that is has been a challenge, but I'm a huge fan of meditation. The other process that I use, and this is one that I can do interactively with my clients, is questioning things, and
Mm-hmm.
it's this process of questioning, like, well, is that real? Do I believe that thought? Do I believe that emotion? And what it really is getting at awareness. And
Mm.
I find that there's three different sort of tiers of awareness that we can sort of pull back, peel back, or work through that allow us to kind of get to that place of being able to hear what's underneath. And the first level, or the most surface level, is what's going on around me and looking at the experiences that I'm having. Am I experiencing a lack of money? Am I experiencing things constantly breaking? Like what are the experiences and what meaning are we giving to that? And then how am I feeling? Like what are my emotions about this? Because our emotions can tell us a lot about the beliefs that are running in the background. And those beliefs, when they're not working for us, are indicators that we're going against that intuition.
Yes.
So the feelings are an awareness, and then our thoughts, like our thoughts, the primary level, that if my thoughts don't feel good to me, if my thoughts make me feel ashamed, if my thoughts are telling me that I'm not good enough, my thoughts are going against my intuition. Therefore, my intuition is saying something opposite of what I'm thinking. So it's a way to get at that intuition, to sort of break through that conditioning. And when you do that enough times, at least this was my experience, eventually you get used to hearing that intuition first. And that's how I've been able to bring it to a level of consciousness, as you describe, conscious intuition.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And this is the key to, I would say, how we start to live inspired instead of simply managing our reality. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. So if conscious intuition breaks the chains of conformity, to think and be like others or just to follow this, path that's been laid out for us, and it can help us escape that proverbial hamster wheel,
Mm.
you know just look at like this whole thing that's happening with the COVID-19 pandemic and the Great Resignation. People had time to stop and think. They got off the hamster wheel and they started processing the lack of
Exactly.
workplace joy and just started moving into that space of conscious intuition.
Yep.
And hello, because I can speak to that.
Yes.
Because I abandoned ship, and chose my health and wellness. So, once the blinders come off, and we have that revelation, it's huge. We realize we then can move from stagnation into action, would you say?
Absolutely. And that happened to me as well. I was on the very beginning when the COVID pandemic first hit, and all of a sudden everything shut down in April of 2020. I had all four of my children living in my home, which is not a big home. It's tiny. And they were all here. And my youngest was, I don't know, he was in the fourth grade. He's diagnosed with autism and ADHD. He was in special education. So we're trying to navigate special education and his whole entire schooling over Zoom calls. That was a whole situation. I'm trying to work 9 to 5 for a nonprofit agency. It was not working. I was dealing with families that were in at risk of being involved in child protective services, trying to support them with their children. The whole thing was a disaster. And I
Mhm.
ended up quitting my job. And my boss was like, I'm sure you can figure out how to do this. And I was like, lady, until you come into my home and see what kind of chaos we are in. My son got sent to the principal's office while we were doing distance learning over how do you like this is
Katie, that's a
no,
first.
you can't make this stuff up. He literally, I had the principal call me. The teacher reported him for his behavior on the Zoom call. And I'm like, he doesn't like being on camera. He is a
Mm,
fourth grade autistic kid. What do you expect from him? Like, he don't like, so the whole
yeah.
thing. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. Like, I'm not compromising my own mental health and that of my kids to try to
Yes.
make this work. I'm going
Mm,
to figure out a different way. And
yeah.
that was when I started getting very serious about my business, about saltwater and soul fire. It was 2 years ago because of all
Mm.
of this. And I think people, much like yourself and myself, are sitting there going, wait a minute, I've been doing this job from the comfort of my home with all of these advantages and perks.
Hello.
Why am I, what? Tell me again why I'm now going to sit in traffic for 45 minutes or an hour to go deal with all of my office mates that I don't even like. And, like, why am I doing this? People woke up. People woke up.
They woke up.
Yeah.
And really, when you think about it in that respect, and just the whole managing your reality, that daily reality, we don't realize how oppressive and suppressive,
Mm.
those organizational structures can be. And unfortunately, not enough of them have found their way to what I like to call human capital value. I hate the term human capital management, and value their employees, and treat them in such a manner to where, some might want to stay in the workforce.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, but I cannot believe, first of all, 30 minutes have just flown past us like that. Katie, I have had a wonderful, a brilliant time. You have given us so many things to think about. I appreciate you for just being so vulnerable and operating in, like what we like to say, truth, transparency, and love. So
Yes,
thank you for being
ma'am.
my guest today on Candid Conversations.
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Absolutely, and we'll be sure to have you back. Audience, I hope you have enjoyed Real Talk with Katie Warner today and trust you found nuggets throughout this episode. Your call to action, we always give a call to action. How does today's concepts and thoughts apply to your life? Are you tapping into conscious intuition or simply managing your reality? Think on the revelations you've received and begin to reconcile with the sum total of your life so that you may move into your renaissance. If you're ready to pivot, to heal, rebuild, and transform your circumstances from the inside out, we're here for you at Defining Paths. We invite you to explore our virtual home, our one-stop shop as we like to call it, at definingpaths.online. See how you might become a part of the DP family, a family who cares and that's determined to put you back in business. We leave no one behind. If you've started your own business and need the foundation built or crack sealed, or just have business in mind for a while and you're ready to make that a reality, then we have your back as well. We invite you to check out our 90-day True Vision project. It's a holistic turnkey solution designed with you in mind and built for longevity, profitability, and sustainable wins. And if you're just here for a safe haven, you are always welcome. We hope it's been for your personal betterment. We thank you for spending time with us, and we do not take that commitment lightly. Please follow us on social media and stay plugged in. Be sure to check out my guests, Katie, Saltwater and Soulfire. Join her beach club. Katie, I still need to do that, girl. And come play with us in Isla Mujeres, Mexico, October 17th through 21st. You can find out more
Yes.
information on definingpaths.online. Join us next week for Candid Conversations as we continue to think about managing our reality. Until then, what is our mantra, ladies? Strong is the new sexy. Be strong in mind, body, and soul. Define your path and love the skin you're in. I'm Doc V, the pivot maestro, and always your corner woman. I am my sister's keeper. I will see you next week.